Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today again. My name is Patricia Alvarado, or Patty, whatever you prefer to call me. And we are here again on Therapy, etc. So I appreciate you all hearing, watching. So thank you again. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Ruby Rose, and I'll let her introduce herself and share a little bit more about herself. But basically, we're going to be talking a lot about her giving back within the community, her experience with green energy and being a mom and being all the things. So I'm excited to have her. So thank you again for watching, and let me get her right in. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Patty. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great.
I wasn't sure how to introduce you, if Ruby Rose Sanchez or Ruby Rose Yepez, so I just left it as Ruby Rose.
That's okay. Actually, my husband and I have a ongoing joke on Instagram. I'm Ruby Rose, and Facebook. I haven't put a last name specifically because I painfully don't want to give up my last name. But it's not official until it's on social media platform, right? So,
Uh-oh. So, all
but
right.
Yepez, yes, I am formally. My married name is now Yepez. Yes.
Well, thank you for being here. And I really want you to share a little bit about what you do. I'm excited to have you just because I always see all the amazing things that you're doing for the community. And so I want to know a little bit more about you, and then we'll kind of like go from there. So
Fun.
tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now within work and in your community.
So at Southern California Edison, I am a senior advisor, which
Mhm,
I am overseeing all new construction, which are all the builders and developers within all of our territory, and
mhm,
pushing, our clean energy programs, which focuses on decarbonization, what the state is really focusing on right now. And then also, I am a planning commissioner for my city of South El
mhm,
Monte. I just
mhm.
got reappointed into my second term, which I'm really excited about.
Wow, congratulations. That's
Yeah, thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
So the first kind of questions or things that are coming up for me is like, you are a woman and you are in construction and you are in this like planning role, and you are definitely, it's abnormal,
Yes.
right? I'm assuming that your colleagues are all male. I don't know. I'm just this big assumption here, but you tell me how it is being a woman, not only like a woman, but a Latina woman being in this role.
Yeah. So, I actually got my degree in architecture, and I think that's where we kind of first started experiencing and seeing the disparity of, the men to women
Ratios.
gender ratio. Yes. And
Yeah.
so I would say actually in college though, it wasn't as bad in construction. I mean, in architecture, it was probably
Mhm.
like 60-40. So there was a good amount of women that were in there. I think I saw it more when I actually started working. So as part of the program, you have to do
Oh.
an internship. And the office for me was, primarily male dominated. And it was about
Mhm.
80 to 20% of what the workforce for women was at the time. Um, Not that I ever felt, any kind of injustices for being like a woman. I would say
Mhm.
I've always been in opportunities or been in spaces where men have always been supportive for the most part.
Okay.
Um, and then after that, I quickly learned that me staring at a computer and drawing details was not my forte. And I had the opportunity to jump into construction, right? Put on the boots, put on the hard hat. And I was a project engineer for a general contractor, which I absolutely loved.
Oh
And
my
the fun part
goodness,
about that,
amazing. Uh-huh.
I took it as a challenge. I love challenges, right? And so I'm
Okay.
like, okay, this is how I'm going to prove myself, to learn from it and then to grow. And
Mhm.
the one thing about moving into that role was, all of the subcontractors were like, oh, there's a new secretary's here. And I was like, hold on, I am not a secretary.
Oh, there you
I
go.
am the project engineer.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, you're the secretary. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, I
Oh my
am the
goodness.
project engineer. And I said, you guys are going to learn very quickly what my exact
Yeah.
role is and the capabilities that I have. So, I just did
Wow.
my job, and sooner or later, in a pretty short amount of time, they eventually really started looking up to me and seeking me to help them when there was issues, when the inspectors, when there's issues in construction, like, Ruby, how are we going to work through this? And then
Mhm.
also, I had a really great team within the general contractor as well, where they kind of opened doors and just helped me move through, and they taught me a lot actually in
Mhm.
that space. And so that was kind of one of my first challenges. But I mean, we would have our team meetings, and it was only me and then a whole bunch of men.
Wow.
But luckily on the project that I was on the owner's rep side, there was another woman, and her and I became very close. We're still very close to this day. But that actually, she was my liaison. And she actually, there would be times where they're like, "Oh, Rudy," and she's like, she's not Rudy. Her name is Ruby. So she would help,
Wow. My goodness.
help support on my end. But and then moving into the consulting side, right? So I went from construction, then I went into sustainability consulting. And that actually was a space where I was more engaged with a lot more men in this space, in the construction
Mhm.
world, especially on the
Mhm.
design side. And
Mhm.
I took it as a challenge. I loved it. I loved going into trailers and being the only woman there and leading the meeting. It was really, really
You're like, "I got this. Scoot
yes,
over."
it was my secret motive. It was my secret drive to continue doing it, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think the other thing for me too was that, it's still a very Caucasian dominated space, and
Mm.
industry. And so for me, like you said, to be a woman and to be Latina, like I really held my own when I would go into those meetings. And it was more of a drive for me to be like, okay, I have to show that I belong here. And
Mhm.
so I worked hard. I worked hard to keep my space. And yeah, and now I'm where I am now, and I love it. I love being in this space, and I want to get the word out and show like the younger generations, you can be here. You can do this,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I've been, my nose has been stuck in Stacey Abrams' book, Leading from the Outside. And one of the things that she
Ooh.
says is that you can't be what you don't see. And
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
actually was reading it on an outing my husband and I had. And on the way back home, I said, I'm going to call the mayor right now. We're going to have one of these events, and I want to broadcast, the amazing leadership that we have in our city, because we have a female mayor, we have a female councilwoman, our city manager is a woman,
Ah.
and myself as a
Wow, I
commissioner
feel
and other female commissioners. I said, we have a panel that
yeah.
we can talk to our local schools and tell them, dream big. You can do it. Look at
Mhm.
all of us women
Mhm.
that are here, just putting it out there. So,
Yeah. I
just
mean,
some things.
that's really great to even hear, because I feel like that's something that I don't see very often, that there's so many women in these high level roles. And it's so unfortunate that I'm even saying this out loud, but it's true, like it's not until 2021 that we have a woman VP, of the country. So seeing it in smaller roles, I almost feel like it's unheard of in many ways. So just hearing you say this, that for your city, they're so progressive in this way. And again, I wish it didn't have to be progressive, so to speak, but in many ways it is.
Yes, you would expect nowadays that it's the norm, but it's still not the norm. We're
Yeah,
still breaking,
exactly.
barriers. We're still breaking glass ceilings. We just celebrated Equal Pay Day for women. So
Hmm.
it's still a thing that we have to work through. But if we collectively work through together through it, then we're going to make advancement, and that's really what it is.
Right.
And for me, it's about creating the community that feels strong enough to continue moving forward.
Hmm. So in these roles, Ruby, have you felt like you've had to work harder than your counterparts to move up in your role and kind of get to where you are right now?
No, honestly, I feel very blessed. I feel I've been given some really amazing opportunities that have
Hmm.
landed in front of me. But again, I believe in what you put into the universe is what you're going to get out of it. So that's just me, in that
Hmm.
state. And
Law of
I feel,
attraction.
yes, exactly, law of attraction. And so with that said, not only with the opportunities that have arisen, but I've also been given some really great mentors or some really great managers
Mm,
that have really given me the tools and resources to develop and then to move forward.
I
It's never
see.
an easy thing when you have to say, okay, like I've kind of outgrown this space and it's time for me to move on. And I've had to make those
Hmm.
tough decisions two or three times. And it's never been easy, but I am beyond grateful for the male allies that have had in those roles. Like even just starting in sustainability, you know, the gentleman that hired me and taught me to become what I am now, you know, I am in forever in debt to him. Um,
Mhm.
but I kind of outgrew that, and I'll never not recognize the work that he did for me, right? Or
Right,
what he
right.
offered me. And I think it's having um those types of opportunities and relationships and connections with people who are going to help you create that for yourself.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've been really lucky, but I can't say that I've ever felt like I had to work harder. um i I just feel that the time that I got into this industry and into this space was a pivotal time, and I was like there at the right time, and I had
Mhm.
the right mentors. I had the right people pushing me forward and laying the path
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah,
it
I
sounds like
can't
you've
say
just
that.
like,
Yeah.
well, it kind of sounds like also like you've seen opportunities and you've jumped on them. You're like, I'm going to do this. You know, a lot of times, like when we see opportunities, it takes a while to get it off the ground, or we start doubting ourselves, like, can I not? And then that doubt and wonder kind of keeps us at the same place, you know, instead of launching, doing something, moving forward.
Yeah, you know, don't get me wrong. I second guess myself all the time, right? My gut is always telling me like, be careful, just like you got this, but be careful, right? It's like, and I'm
It's
like, oh
true.
my God, like, and I'm the type of person where I see something and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for that. Like, I want to achieve it.
Hmm.
It's hard to get me off of track to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, so when my mind is set, like I'm set, like I'm gonna find a way to get there and I'm gonna do it.
Uh-huh.
And I push forward. But you know, again, honestly, I think success comes from building a strong community and
Ah, yeah.
having a strong network. And from a young age, I kind of like really understood that. You know, in college, I got involved with an organization that was huge. It was a national organization, and to this day, I can still call on people and help. And even then, I have people call on me, even from across the
Mm,
country, looking for work that's within the sustainability sector, and I'm able to kind of give them some kind of insight or guide them on what's a better path for them. Um, but
mhm.
definitely having a
So now
strong
you
network,
are
I
the
think it is.
mentor.
And now I am the mentor. Yeah. And I love
Yes.
doing it. I love doing it. It's so rewarding to see somebody, because you want to see others succeed as you have, at least I
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
And so it brings me so much joy to be able to like guide somebody who's interested in doing what I do to get
Right.
to where they can be.
Right.
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 So
So you're talking about community, and I know that you're very involved in the community. So for some people, they may or may not know this, but Ruby and I, we actually used to go to yoga together, and we used to go to this place called Core Power Yoga. We used to drive all the way out to, I don't know, somewhere in the valley. Remember
Studio
that?
City. Yes.
Yeah, like we used to go so far to go to this yoga class, and we'd go to the like 8 o'clock or maybe 8 or 9 p.m. class. Remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
So so that's when I first started doing yoga, and then I started getting really busy with grad school, internship, all this good stuff. But then Ruby, you actually went on to be a yoga teacher, yoga instructor, and I know that you've used this in the work that you're doing. So, and like the community that you're saying that you've been building or that you've built.
Yeah, so that was, you know, that was just a whole nother world that I got into. You know, I started yoga for selfish reasons. I needed to ground myself. I needed to balance myself. And that was the reason why I actually started with it. And I had a coworker of mine who kept telling me, "Oh, you have to check out this studio. You know, I keep seeing it on my way home. It looks amazing." And I said, "Okay, okay, that's it. Fine. I'm gonna try it." And I did, and
Hmm.
it's a heated yoga
Oh
type
yes,
of
I
class.
remember.
And I loved it. You come out feeling so refreshed, but I fell so much in love with it that I ended up doing a teacher training, and not to become a teacher necessarily, but to to deepen my own practice. And in
Mhm.
doing so, it was like, I don't know, I've always had this calling to serve. I've always have, ever since, even in elementary school, I was doing community service type of stuff. And
Mhm.
so when I first started, I was like, oh my God, like if this brings me so much joy and so much balance to my life, like imagine what it could do for those around me. And I want to share this gift. I'm not no expert of a yogi instructor, right? But I at least want to share and I at least want to practice. And so I remember
Right.
I reached out to all my girlfriends and I said, hey, let's meet at the park. And we found that beautiful park in downtown
Yes.
LA that had that
Yes.
amazing,
I forgot about
skyline.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that park. And so, I remember just getting out there and we would meet every so often and, do yoga on the grass and just being out and about. We're in buildings so much. I mean, I buildings are my life, but we're in buildings way too much. And so being
Yeah.
outside, being on the grass, it was so nice and refreshing. And for me, that was it. I was like, we'll get together every so often and we're going to host classes. And that's that. Well, it so happened. I don't even know how it happened, but I got invited to the city of El Monte's health and wellness event that they were having for employees. Oh, that's what it was. They asked me to come teach yoga to their employees. Can you do like little 15-minute sessions? And I said, yeah, I could do that. And I can't remember how I got connected, but I did. And in that, the UFC gym was there. And my best friend was like, why don't you go see if they're looking for yoga instructors? I said, no, I do not like fighting. I do not like seeing blood. No, that's not in my circle of things that I like. And so she went to go ask and she came back. She said, hey, they're actually looking for a yoga instructor. And I was like,
Oh
oh,
my God. It was
okay,
meant
fine.
to be.
Right. And so, and it was just a hop, skip, and a jump from my house. And I interviewed for it and then I ended up getting the job. And it was like one of
Wow.
those things where, you have these barriers up because you're thinking one thing and then the reality of it is very different, right? So it's a real gym,
Mm.
like 24-hour fitness. It's a real gym. But they do practice martial arts there. And it actually ended up being a win-win because people who are doing martial arts as well as any other sports should be getting a deep stretch in their bodies. So I was able to get this following of martial artists that were practicing at the gym to come to my classes because I was doing, specifically yin yoga classes, which is a really deep stretch. And I would do those like specifically at a time that was after their training and they would love it.
Oh,
So it kind of worked out in my favor to be able to offer those classes to them. But
wow.
then
So
life happened.
initially, well,
Uh-huh, go
but
ahead.
hold on. So initially you were like, I don't want to do this because I don't like blood. And so your perception was that it's going to be one thing. And then when you actually did it, you realize like it was exactly like it just made sense.
Yes, they go hand in hand.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And to think about it,
Hmm.
martial artists are very focused, very trained, and yoga is very similar to that, despite, like the physical, well, like the fighting part, because
Uh-huh.
yoga is very physical also, right? Depending on the type
Yeah.
that you're practicing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. And then,
Wow.
like I said, life happened. I got married. I had children, and so the time I had to allot to offering that because it was what I was doing on the side, right? It wasn't my main gig. I kind of and I ended up having to give it up, but I would find ways to be able to offer it locally. I was offering it for free through the city. I was offering
Mhm.
it through San Gabriel Valley. There's a headquarters here that I was offering it at. And then the city of El Monte
Wow.
actually pings me every now and then. They're like, hey, Ruby, we need a yoga instructor for this. And I'm always more than happy, to go. Actually, I got a call today
Oh
about
my
doing a
God.
class for them next week. So it kind of keeps me aligned, it keeps me connected with the people. And that's why I think I
Uh-huh.
loved it too, because it was an activity that brings people together. And
Hmm.
for me, community is huge. I'm always trying to find ways to strengthen and to grow community. And like, I feel like even just in my space where I live, in the city where I lived, I really wanted to
Hmm.
offer it here because I wanted people to get to know each other. And if you know your neighbor, you're more comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you're in a space where you feel more, I don't want to say more love, but you're comfortable there. You want to get out more, you want to interact more. And I really want to see that grow in my city. So that's why I was like, I love to be able to offer those classes whenever we can. So I'm actually considering, once COVID is done, to be able to do like maybe Saturday morning classes or something around here.
That
Yeah.
is so awesome. And like even doing it outside, like right now, like people being 6 feet apart is probably even something that can be done too.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a
I
few
have been thinking
options.
about it. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of making the time to do it.
Yeah, no, I hear you have a lot going on because as you're talking, I'm also thinking, wait a minute, but you're also the newly appointed commissioner you mentioned, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what does that mean?
So, as a planning commissioner, your role is basically to oversee any new projects that are coming in or new business permits that are coming in, where you kind of review them and say, is this a good fit for our city? And if it is a good
Oh,
fit, we want to make sure that whatever is going to come out of it is, is also creating a safe space for our businesses as well as our residents. So that's my role within
oh.
that space. But right now it's kind of a fun time because there's a lot of updating of things that are happening in our city, updating of codes, updating of our general plan. So it's kind of a fun time to be engaged in the city as well.
Wow. That's awesome, Ruby. Wow. I'm so happy for you and all the things that you're doing with your full-time work, with the city, with just your own wellness. So with all of this going on, how do you feel that you ultimately take care of yourself? Because you also mentioned that you have a husband and you have children. And so I'm curious to know, how does Ruby take care of Ruby?
Yeah, that's always the key question, right? How do we take care of ourselves? It was kind of funny actually. I was doing another workshop this earlier today on self branding,
Hmm.
and one of my fellow board members and panelists actually said, um, we talk about balance, but we need to be realistic that there really is not a real thing of balance. As much as we try to achieve it, this may or may not really exist. And we have to know
Mm.
that on some days you're going to have good days and some days you're going to have bad days.
Oh, yeah.
And as a mother, it's tough, especially now in COVID, right? Like, if COVID has confirmed anything, is that I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I'm definitely a workaholic. But it's really brought me to a space where I'm like, okay, 5 o'clock hits and it's time to say, I'm going to stop now. And now I'm going to focus on
Mhm,
my family. Although
mhm.
there's extracurricular activities that I'm also engaged with that at times take some of the evening time. So, being a wife, I think the most important thing is having open communication with
Mhm,
your partner, right? And so we work on that a lot, all the time.
mhm.
It's a huge thing. And sometimes we go off track, but we always find ways to realign ourselves. And I love travel, and I love taking getaway weekends. And so we do that as much as we can to really focus on us and have that
Mhm.
alone time of just him and I, just to talk, you know what I mean, like to
Have a
not have a child come
conversation.
in my mom or dad, it's you just kind of need that space to also to just re-energize, right? You just need to
Mhm.
re-energize yourself. And then with the kids, it's uh, I'm not I whenever I get engaged with something, it's like I can't just like titter tatter with it. It's like either I'm fully in or I'm like fully out. And
Mhm.
now as a school mom, PTO is knocking on my door and I'm like, "Oh, okay, just only be a volunteer." And it's
No,
so hard
I
for me
think I
not
think Ruby's gonna
it's
do
not
the
in my
she's
blood.
gonna be the
I know.
president.
So, the task force for going back to school with COVID has come up, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I'll volunteer for that. But I'm just trying to take baby steps, right, to get involved because I don't want to be overwhelmed either. But going back to the balance though, and how do I take care of me? You know, I try to find joy in the things that I do with my kids, and I do, right? I love baking. They love baking with me, so we'll do it together.
Ah,
um eh,
okay.
I the biggest thing is to just stop and take the time to focus on them, right? They love to paint, they love to color, and so stopping and coloring with them. I haven't colored in years, and actually just you know, within the last couple of months, I've bought in, I don't know how many color books, and we sit as a family and we color. And literally, it's
Oh
the
my goodness,
most
yes.
relieving feeling ever. And I'm like, this is great. Oh my, I'm just color. It is so
Yes.
nice.
It
It's
is
so nice.
so
So
rewarding.
it is. I'm like, God, look at my picture. I didn't even know I could color like this. It's and it's just coloring, right? But I think that you need to find that as well, right? And then
Mhm,
just quiet time. Like I try to keep up with my exercise. You know, that's something that I really enjoy because it's
mhm,
kind of me time to a certain
mhm,
extent, right? So
mhm.
I try to keep up with my exercise. And then I do love pampering. So whenever I can get a massage in, or just quiet time at night, you know,
Yeah.
once I put the kids down, I just have some quiet time sometimes. But I'm trying to get better at a regimen in the morning. I'm not the best morning person, but I'm trying to get in a regimen on the morning
It's
to be
tough.
better at that.
It's
Yeah.
tough to manage. I mean, I don't have children myself, but it's just tough in general just to manage even my own life. I'm like, okay, I need a calendar because if not, I'm gonna forget things, or so I hear you. Like just I think
Yeah.
the biggest piece also is just being patient with yourself, which it sounds like, you're doing and finding those little nuggets throughout the day that bring you joy.
Yeah, I'm pretty strong on having a positive mindset also. I try not to dwell on negativity. And if there
Mhm,
is negativity, like I'll pull myself out of that space.
mhm.
Um, because it takes so much energy to be negative. You know
It
what I
takes a
mean?
lot of energy to
And
be mad or upset.
yes,
It's
yeah.
it's it's takes a lot out of you.
It does. It does. And so I try not to I don't. I'm not a big person on holding on to things. It's like, okay, it happened, we have to move on kind of a situation.
Mhm, mhm,
But I think keeping myself in a positive mind state actually helps me stay aligned and helps me move
mhm.
forward. It's like, okay, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my moments. I have my meltdowns. I have my anxiety that arises sometimes. And I just like, I rub my essential oils on and I just, like take
Wait,
quiet
so
time and I'm like, okay, bring it down.
what's
We're
your
going to be okay.
favorite scent on your essential oils?
Um, you know, I really like the citrus ones right now in the morning. They wake you up. I
Mm.
also have this one, it's called In Tune, and then another one that's called Past Tense. And
Ooh,
it's ones that kind of just help relax you. That's really what it
interesting.
is. Yeah.
I have this little peppermint one that you're supposed to like put like around like the crown of your head to help with
Mm-hmm.
like headaches.
Yes.
So sometimes I use that like when I'm having a really long day and I need to be like, alert
Yes.
and up. I'm like, no coffee, peppermint.
I'll have to send you one of my orange ones because those ones are actually really good too. The
Oh,
peppermint one and the orange one.
interesting.
They just kind of
Love
give you
that.
like that little like spurt of like energy that you need for the day.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
that. So
Yeah.
before we stop for today, I am curious to know what is one of like the your favorite places that you have gone to on your like weekend getaways that you shared?
Yeah. So I have a new one that we completely love. So we love Glen Ivy,
Uh-huh.
but we found this new resort in Palm Desert, and I don't want to tell people because I don't want it to get overused.
Come on, share the secrets.
But it's called Two Bunch Palms, and it's in
Oh,
Palm Desert, and it's an adult only resort, and it's all about the mineral waters, and they have
oh,
like some tubs that like two people can just sit in and soak, but then they have a couple of other pools.
wow, sounds
And the
amazing.
last time we were there in February, they're expanding it. I don't know. I think I saw like 5 more pools that they're building. And then they're also adding on like these private massage rooms.
Oh my
But
goodness.
what I love about it though is that it's not like a hotel. They're a bunch of little bungalow buildings, and it's the space you could just walk through. There's a nice little tranquil lake with ducks, and they have these palm
Wow.
trees um with that you can kind of like just relax in. It's a place to
Yeah.
go to like disconnect and relax and just
Hmm.
gaze at the stars at night. It's so clear out there. The stars are just gorgeous. And just, I mean, you do hear some of the it's just
Coyotes.
nice. And
Coyotes?
Coyotes, there you
Oh my God,
go.
there we go.
You got it. Coyotes, yes. So you hear them at night, but it's such a nice tranquil place. And then they have a nice little restaurant, and you're outdoors for the most part. I mean, you don't really want to be inside because it's so gorgeous there.
Mhm.
And then it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Palm Springs, and we love Palm Springs too. So
I'm
it's
gonna maybe
definitely our new favorite place.
I'll
Yeah.
try not to overuse, but I kind of like that. It sounds
Oh
very
yeah,
nice.
no, I highly recommend. Yes, yes, absolutely.
That's amazing. Ruby, I want to thank you for being here, sharing about like your journey into the sustainability world that you are working in, what you do with giving back to the community, how you stay aligned through yoga and your own self-care, and also sharing about your favorite spot that I'm gonna have to check out.
Yeah, it's very pampering. I haven't been able to do the massage because we found it during COVID, but once I do, oh my gosh, it is
It's
over.
on.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
again, I want to thank you so much for being here. Any last minute or anything else that you want to share before we stop for today?
Um, I think the biggest thing is, I think you hit on it, and especially during COVID times, patience with yourself, patience
Mhm,
in finding yourself, patience in you transitioning
mhm,
as you're going through the different phases of life, and knowing it's okay.
mhm,
It's okay to win, it's okay to lose. And
mhm,
that's the part of life that you have to embrace.
mhm.
So
The
patience is a key
unknown.
word. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not alone.
yeah,
Um, uh, you're not alone, absolutely. And
yeah.
y- create a network, create a group of people that you can rely on when needed,
Mhm,
because those are
mhm.
the ones that are going to help you move forward when you need,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, but patience overall is key in life.
Thank you. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it. And thank you, those of you that are watching us or hearing us. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to another episode soon. All right. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you, bye.
Bye.